Hello everyone, welcome to the Career Talks by Welcome Solutions. I like to help you with your career, so give me a chance and post your questions below. And now to the point. And today I have great pleasure to introduce Hellen parra-florez. Hellen is the founder and managing director of CodeSwitch. She has experience in knowledge exchange activities and has managed the successful delivery of more than 20 consultancy projects. Hellen is a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy and the PRINCE2 Agile Practitioner. She is also the University of Manchester Research Staff Developer for the Prosper project. So thank you so much, Hellen, for accepting the invitation to the Career Talks. And I'm curious to hear your story told from your own perspective. And I'm curious what stands behind your LinkedIn profile and about your career decisions that you had to make so far.
Oh, thanks for having me, Natalia. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, a bit about me, about my LinkedIn, about my story. I'm going to start from my PhD. I was a PhD student. I was doing law. My PhD was looking at cultural defenses in criminal law cases. And I was doing the PhD on a part-time basis, self-funded, so it was quite challenging. When I started my PhD, I thought that, my PhD was going to be like a passport to get me an academic job. But then after a couple of years, when I started hanging out with, with other PhDs and started, going to conferences and getting more involved in the academic world, I came to realize that actually, getting an academic job is quite difficult. It's not a given. So at that point, maybe because it's part of my personality, I thought straight away, or maybe because I was a mature student and I was self-funded, so I had to work a lot and so on, I thought that I had to have a plan B in case I didn't get an academic job. My thought process was, what happens if after 6 years, or sometimes it takes 8 years on a part-time basis, I finish the PhD and then I can't get an academic job. So from that point, I was very conscious of the fact that I had to diversify my skills. And I had to have, something else, another place to go in case academia didn't work out for me. Mm-hmm. So I went down the route of research and development, career advice. I got a job in the career services at the University of Manchester, like a part-time job. I was teaching and so on. I was doing quite a few jobs, but all within that kind of path. And then after 4 years of my PhD, things got a bit complicated. And I like to say this in project management terms. There was no business case anymore to do my PhD.
In Welcome Solutions, we help highly educated professionals with navigating towards their dream careers. We offer intensive career rotation courses, combining self-discovery with practical information about the job market. We also work on our own educational materials such as books and self-navigation manuals. Our new tool, the Odyssey test, will help you discover what your natural way of creating value in the job market is and which working environment will fit you best. If you'd like to stay in touch with us and receive monthly updates, please subscribe to the newsletter.
To carry on with the project, so I stopped. And I was lucky that at that time there was a vacancy at the university as a research and development officer. And I applied for the job, but I was thinking this morning that one of the reasons why I got that job is because I had applied for that job before, like a year before, but somebody else had more experience and they had a PhD already and so on. But when I applied, I remember when I didn't get the interview, I called the manager and I said, what can I do to get this job? And he said, it would be good if you had some more experience on delivering workshops. At that point, I had experience delivering seminars, but no workshops. So I said to him, can I deliver some workshops for you? And he said he was a bit surprised, and he said, "Okay, send me some ideas." And that's what I did. So I was very proactive. I sent some ideas, a pitch actually, and I delivered a couple of workshops for them. And because I had that experience, that facilitated, me getting that job when I decided to stop my PhD. So when I had that job, that wasn't like a maternity cover. It was like a year long job, and at that point we received some funding to create activities to link or to connect researchers, PhD researchers, with industry. So we came out with a project where we brought some businesses, some consultants, and students from different backgrounds, PhD researchers, to deliver some projects, some consultancy projects. And that was kind of the beginning, or where the idea of Code Switch came up from that first project that we delivered in my role. Then after that, I applied for an award to the business school at the University of Manchester, and I got an award, a Flying Starter Award. So I got some money from the business school to set up Code Switch, and we are now, University of Manchester staff startup. After that role, I got another part-time job. I work as a research staff developer for the Prosper project. And Prosper is creating a new career model that aims to unlock postdoctoral researchers' potential to thrive in multiple careers. So this is what I do in my part-time, and then part-time I do Code Switch. We launched last year in March 2020, just at the beginning of the pandemic. But so far it's gone really well. We've delivered 2 full programs, and we're currently delivering our 3rd program, our summer program. Yeah, so that's my story, in brief, yeah.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this question, since a lot of PhDs who watch this channel, and also those that I'm in contact with, think about setting their own businesses at some point in their future careers. And I think this is probably a common desire of many people today, many professionals in the job market, even regardless of how well you're paid. As long as you're an employee, you're never like truly independent, and you are always dependent on your boss to some extent, and never like really free in terms of projects that what you do. So regardless of how good your situation is, this natural desire to be free is at some point taking over. So my question for you would be, when did you first feel that entrepreneurial path is for you? Like, do you think that looking back at your grad school, there were already signs that you might be a company owner one day, or maybe even before, maybe even in undergrad studies? Or did you just recently discover that this is something you are actually suited to do?
So, yeah, I think I would say it was down to a role model. I never thought of myself of being an entrepreneur. I mean, not like a conscious thought. Maybe I have the traits. And when I think back about, my childhood, what I used to do with playing, and if I think retrospectively, I can see myself how entrepreneurial I have always been. But in my mind, I never thought, I'm going to set up a business. But it was actually, I've got a cousin I'm from Colombia, and I went there like a few years ago, I said 3 years ago, and she set up a business. 5 years ago, she's younger than me. So But anyway, she set up a business. She finished her master's. She didn't have any work experience, and she went straight away and set up a really successful marketing and communications company. And when I saw her, the way she was operating, the things that she was doing, at some point I realized actually, yeah, I don't know how to explain, but sometimes you see somebody and you see yourself. You see, actually, this is me. This is the type of things that I can do, and I'm sure I am good at. So it was just a realization. I saw her and I thought, yeah, why am I not doing this? And then obviously it wasn't straight away that I decided to set up a business, but that was like the first click, the first moment of thinking or having that self-confidence that I could potentially do this. And then I started thinking more seriously about setting up a business like a year before Code Switch came up. I thought I want to set up a business. I first started with an idea about like a sharing economy, like people cooking in different houses, selling to each other, and set up a platform and an app. Obviously that never happened. But then, yeah, that's how it came about. It was, I saw it in somebody, and then obviously, yeah, I thought I had the characteristics myself. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I also think that usually those signs are there from the start, but you just don't see them. I also, when I now look back, I see the signs from early start, even in childhood, but I never really thought, seriously of that as an indication that I might have a company one day. For instance, I remember when I was 8 years old, I was discussing with a friend, and I was telling her why she should not play in a lottery, and I tried to explain to her what the expected value is and what the probability means, and that in the long run she will always lose in a lottery if she plays long enough. And I
Yeah.
didn't even know the words for that because I was 8. I didn't have probability calculus at school, so I didn't even know the word. But I try to explain how I see that and why it's always in the long term it's always a bad deal to play in the lottery. And yeah, just I kind of now see that I had that idea like of what pays off and what doesn't from the beginning, and also what value is, and why people pay for things, and so what the utility function is. Like I kind of had the concept from the beginning, but I didn't ever think about it, that might be a part of my professional life. I was really in love with science. I thought I would do science for a living, and I never really thought of this as a possibility. So, but now, so I like to ask this to people who have their own companies, like how early on they really see the signs, and usually I think they reveal already in childhood, but we just don't see them.
Yeah, I think from what you're saying, you come from maybe a more analytical side of looking at a business. I think in my case, I come more from like, if we talk about the childhood examples, I never thought about whether this would work out or not. I remember I had at some point I had like a little business when I was like 7 at home or 8, like Nintendo at that time. I used to have a Super Nintendo. So I took all the TVs in my house, 2 or 3 TVs, and I called the other kids, please can I borrow your Super Nintendos? And then I started selling games to kids, and I started sharing. So I think in my case it's more about, if I look at childhood, but then also at my career, university, when I think about something, I usually make it happen. That's an ability I have. I can bring people together and find the ways and find the networks and make it happen. I think that's that's where I come from business. I don't sometimes think about, is this gonna work out or not? It's just, okay, let's do it. Yeah.
That helps. That helps. Sure. I also like to think like that, but it's also actually this is interesting problem, because on the one hand, like doers do well in business. Of course, you have to be a doer. Nothing will be done and you are only paid on the output of your projects, not on the promises. So it's not like in academia you can promise that you will do a project and then get the money to do it. Here, like, people pay when they get the value, so they get a product or a service. Like they will not pay you if you cannot deliver. So it's like you're paid after the work, not before. So so you have to be a doer. But on the other hand, really, I mean, the older I am, the more I see the value of really spending time on deliberating whether or not to do a certain project and cherry picking which projects and which people I want to work with. I think that choosing the right project and the right people is already 90% of the success. I saw that in my PhD. So I was trying hard, but I had a project that was like mathematically impossible. Like it was just impossible. So regardless of how hard I was working on it, I was always failing. And so it didn't matter how good my supervisor was or me, or how many hours I was putting in, because in the end, like, there was no output. So some other buy-side projects worked because I was trying hard to really like mitigate the risk and etc. So I graduated from my like plans B, in fact, not my plan A. But if I spend more time, well, it was like complicated, because what do you know as a first year student, right? You don't know how hard the project really is. But now I kind of see a value in, before you start doing something, really thinking about, okay, what are the chances? What is the probability? What is, is it a viable project? Like, what is the possible gain from it? And who is the most appropriate person to do it with, and just choosing the minimal set of people, because the more people, the cost of communication like blows up. So the minimal number of people that you really need to do the project, and like the more time I spend on that, the less time then I lose on actually doing the project.
On delivering, yeah.
So it's
The more
like,
planning, yeah, you definitely need to have some planning time, yeah.
so it's a really difficult problem. So what does it mean to be a doer? Because if you're a doer and you just jump on projects without really giving it a thought, then you won't, like, there are so many startups that just start projects just, like on enthusiasm only, like, yeah, let's do it, it's like $1 million idea, and then they get nowhere because they just didn't think of it like early enough.
I am a quite resourceful person, so I know my weaknesses and my strengths. So as you say, my strength is like, okay, we've got this project, let's make it happen. But to do the whole thinking and logistics and planning, I get a lot of advice. So from people who know how about business already. So I'm not scared at all. I mean, I think, I'm that type of person who always goes to people asking questions, or what do you think? So before I make a decision, so I've got an idea, right? I think it's good, but before I make the decision to actually do it, I have already asked like 6, 7 people, this is a project I want to do, what do you think? And then people start telling me, these are the pros, cons. And then based on that, I go and do it. But myself, I don't think I'm that person who does all the analysis. I go to other people. That's the way I operate. I've got quite a few friends, and we have now a non-executive director, Code Switch. She's got a lot of business experience helping me to do this from like the high level planning, because I'm aware that, I don't really have any business experience. I'm just learning as I go. But that's the way I operate. I live like the more analytical thinking. I go to people who know and get their feedback, and then that's how I decide. Yeah.
Well, like, good to hear. But it's a complicated problem. You have to know what to delegate and what not to delegate. Like, I like to think that it's good to always listen to your gut at the very end. Anyways, just get advice, but still, yeah. But okay. But let's talk more about the Code Switch. So, can you tell us more about what you do and what Code Switch main objective is, and also, yeah, what type of projects you're currently focusing on?
Yes, so Code Switch. Code Switch is a consultancy and researcher development business. So the business has two strands, and our main product currently is a 6 month training placement program. And I call it training placement because even though we are providing, it is a development opportunity, and we are supporting the researchers with training, coaching, mentoring. It is a placement at the same time because they are working with real businesses in real projects, delivering real outputs. So it's a program, six months long program where researchers that specializes in consultancy and project management. So obviously researchers, after finishing the program, they deliver a range of skills such as business acumen, because they spent a lot of time with the client, understanding the business, but also understanding the context where the business operates. So they learn how business work, what are the priorities, and so on. Collaboration, they work in teams all the time, so there is a strong sense of teamwork from the beginning, all throughout the program. Also obviously project management, consultancy, customer relations. So there are a range of skills, important skills that they develop, but like this, the speciality or the expertise that they could claim to have started. Obviously, we are not saying that you will come to the course and then you will be a project manager, but it will give you a good experience on how to project manage a project and how to do or deliver a consultancy project. So we work with PhDs and postdoctoral researchers from all backgrounds, mainly now social sciences, humanities, and arts, and we are having more and more STEM. But the idea is that we have a good mix of STEM and SHAPE. That's how it's called now in the UK. And we work with businesses, startups, SMEs. Right now we have 5 projects. So we have a health app project, another business that work with CRMs and finance with the bank, tech business. So yeah, that's the type of projects that we do, and we follow a PRINCE2 approach. We have a project manager who currently works in the industry, and we have a research consultant who is currently a postdoc. So we all have our jobs, and we bring from our jobs like the fresh knowledge and trending practices to the program. Yeah.
Okay, so from what I understand, this is a program for PhD and PhD graduates who get their first experience in management in industry, so that they have good start into starting their careers in industry. Is that correct?
Not just in industry. So the objective is that something that I found personally when I was doing my PhD, I found it really difficult to get meaningful work experience. Like, you get in that problem, like, oh, if you don't have work experience, we cannot give you a job. But you cannot get work experience because we don't give you a job. So I found it really difficult to get access to placements and internships, maybe because I was self-funded and you get less, you have less access to these things. So my idea was the motivation behind creating Code Switch was to have something there, like a program that people could apply to, regardless of whether they were funded or the company wanted to give them the opportunity or not. They can apply to this program, get this meaningful 6 months work experience on their CV, and to give them the skills that will facilitate applying for jobs in the industry, but also inside academia, because there is in academia nowadays, it is really important that you can engage with external partners. The whole knowledge exchange, impact of the research. So they are skills that you can also apply for an academic job and could help researchers to stand out in an application, in a job application. Yeah.
So can you tell us more about the workflow? So when a new candidate is coming to you, what does happen next?
So, okay, so they come, they apply for the course, and then usually the majority of researchers that we have are funded by their doctoral training partnerships or universities, but there is also the possibility to self-fund, and researchers they can pay by installment. It may not be that easy to pay for the whole course at once. Before the researcher apply, they already know the type of projects that they can work on, because we have a summary of the projects on the website. We cannot publish the full project brief because there is confidential information there. But once they apply, the first thing that happens is obviously we give them the program, the detailed program that again is not available online. We have like summary, but we also ask researchers to sign a confidentiality agreement to make sure that everything that happens during the project remains confidential. And then we send the researchers the project briefs for them to choose the top 3 projects. Mm-hmm. And then we get the choices from them, and we allocate researchers to their projects based on their choices, but also based on the needs of the projects. And then when the program starts, they already know what project they will be working on and what teams, and then there is a process of all the workshops and working on the projects. Yeah.
And how long does this project last?
It's 6 months.
Oh, 6 months. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we have the initiation stage, or the definition of the project lasts for 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. So that's the time where researchers are analyzing the brief, engaging with businesses, trying to understand the problem, trying to figure out what the best approaches are to solve the problem with the team based on their different skills and backgrounds. Then planning the project, including risk, stakeholders, and at the end of these 8 weeks, the main output is the project initiation document, which is a document, a project management formal document that acts as the contract between the project team and the client, and that's to make sure that when the researchers deliver the actual project, the research, there are no like project creeps. Like, we don't want a client coming back and saying, all right, now that you have found this out, can you look at this also? Because we have this document saying this is what we agreed and we only have 8 weeks. So we make sure that happens. Yeah. And then during the actual research takes 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. And 5 weeks reporting and 3 weeks evaluation. Mm-hmm. That's 24 weeks. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so does it happen also that some of the participants get hired in the procedure, so that the author of the project is actually so happy with their work that they also get hired in the process?
It hasn't happened yet. We've been around for a year now, but we've been having we've been recording some interviews with businesses. And funnily enough, the last business that we had an interview with, he said, I may have a project coming up and I would like to go back to the researchers for some help. And we also had another business during the program that said that he had another project, but it hasn't materialized yet from the clients. We do have, at the end of each program, we ask researchers if they want to join our talent pool. So we have a talent pool, and we are engaging with businesses, basically offering the talent and saying, oh, you know, we've got a list here of researchers who are not only PhD researchers, but they've done our program, and we can say that they have these skills. So that's something that we're working on and trying to develop at the moment, yeah, to find jobs for researchers.
Right. So what is your impression? Like, what is the easiest and the hardest skill for researchers to learn in the process in terms of business intelligence? What do you think is the most challenging? And what do you think is something that they grasp really quickly?
I think the most challenging, the thing that they find most challenging in the initiation stage, which is defining the project, they find it really challenging to plan, to create a detailed plan. You know, like when you're working on a project, you have to have a detailed plan of, you know, you've got the main product and then tasks to achieve that product. They find that really difficult, and assigning the task. And I am the one during the delivery stage who is checking tasks, and I'm the one, like, you know, chasing them. This needs to be break down further and more. And it's like, I don't know, we think that this is the most challenging bit, because I think they, for example, if one product is a literature review, they already know how to do literature review, and in their mind they know how to do it, but you know, to put it in like tasks, break it down, and who is doing what, that's like, yeah, they find that challenging. But then during the reporting stage, what they find most challenging is to code switch between the academic language to the business language. Because I don't know, I mean, I haven't said this, because the reason why we are called code switch is because code switch is a term used in linguistics that describes where speakers of two languages switch between languages. So say me, I speak Spanish, and sometimes when I'm speaking Spanish, I say an English word or an English phrase, because it's an easier way of saying that bit of the conversation. So that's code switching. So here, one of the aims of the program is that researchers code switch between academia and business language. And we can see this very clearly in the reporting stage, because researchers need to produce a business report, which is based on the research report, and it's a completely different way of talking and writing. And that is very challenging. In terms of what they pick up faster, I think, okay, so none of the researchers that work in the project are familiar with the project and with the industry and the topic. Like, you know, we have researchers like psychologists and policymakers working on cybersecurity, for example. So no one is familiar with the topic. And that at the beginning is a bit of a shock, because they don't know about businesses and they don't know about the topic, about the industry. But I think they learn really quickly about the industry, about what the business is about in terms of the topic, right? What cybersecurity is about, how it works. I think that they pick that up really quickly. That's, yeah, and I understand why, because as a researcher, you know, when you finish a paper and you want to write another paper, you go into a completely different topic sometimes. And I think that's why they find this part of the project a bit easier. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I get the pain, because indeed the projects are timed in the industry, and like in academia we officially have some timeline as well, because our contracts are timed. But in fact, it's not like that. It's like you try something new every time. So how can you estimate the time that you need? And it's your own project. So why would you even write down the roadmap, right? If it's just the project is just for you. So I think we all kind of rush and try to do as many things as fast as possible, but without really thinking of, okay, where is the end point? But
Yeah.
yeah, I get the idea, and also probably the fact that you have to produce in a group also changes the dynamics, because now you have to rely on other people. So that's, I can imagine. Yes, interesting though. This is the hardest part, because honestly, like, if I would ask, like, if I would have to guess, my guess would be that probably this commercial thinking, like commercial, the part of the project related to business intelligence and thinking from the client perspective on how to, for instance, show a project in an attractive way to the client. Maybe that would be hard because that's not what we have in academics. But like, so I'm surprised to hear that's actually the project planning part that is the most challenging. But that's also interesting to hear.
We provide a lot of support to them to do that presentation of the project, but I can also, to be honest, there is something else that they find challenging, but that depends on the client. You know, when you do consultancy, usually clients don't tend to really know what they want, even if they've written a project brief, even if they have an idea. Once they start articulating the challenge and they start having a discussion, the client, all right, I'm not sure if this is what I want. And so that eliciting of information, depending on the client, we have had some groups, some project teams where the clients, were back and forth, oh, we want this, and tomorrow, no, we don't want this. And we got that feedback, like the most powerful moments that they had was that breakthrough, like that point where the client and themselves, like had the same of the understanding of the project and reached that conclusion, okay, this is what we want to do. So that's something that they also find challenging, but again, it depends on the client. Some clients make their lives a bit easier, but also something that I need to say, like all the clients who join our program, all the businesses, we make it clear to them that none of the PhDs or postdocs have any business background. So even though we follow in this program an MBA style consultancy project in terms of the structure, we don't have MBA students. So they are aware of the fact that they should play a mentoring role with the students. So when I've been in many of these meetings and I've seen the clients saying, well, we need to do this because in business, this and this happens. So they are learning a lot of commercial, and I think that's why this step is not too difficult, because the clients help them a lot in the way. Yeah.
Okay, well, interesting. So your whole program is online, right? Is that correct?
Online, yeah, it's everything online.
So if someone is interested who is not based in UK, then they can also apply. That's
definitely, yeah. We've made sure that we deliver workshops at 1 p.m. UK time, to give time, people who are before and after, they all have time to join. They don't need to wake up at 4 in the morning or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good strategy. Okay, and well, just relating to what you just said about the communication, well, the industry is a Babel tower. You will find people who are like completely out of your comfort zone and speaking other languages. So it's, I think it's good training after all. Since as academics, we often talk just to our like subfield, like people who are very close, like in background. So I think it's really good what you're saying, that even the fact that the client doesn't know what they want, like this is what you will encounter
in real life. Exactly.
So
yeah.
the sooner the better. It's not a reason to it's just something you have to get used to. So indeed,
Yeah.
that's probably a good preparation then, because you have to be patient with the client. That's also something I am also learning. So I think I have like natural kind of approach that is, I mean, I'm patient towards clients by nature, I think, but this is something that you can see, that like the also understand this relation, that if you have a client, then the client is the boss, and regardless how many times they change their mind, you have to adjust and communicate with them and help them. So I think it's also good to have training that, you know, now like learn this new relation that you'd never had in academia, right? So because it's a completely new setting, and it's like it's a different way of speaking to someone, knowing that actually they are the owner of the project and you are only a guest who is helping. And you're
Exactly. I mean, it's completely, we don't know, of course, before we engage. I mean, I find the clients, I do the networking, I invite them to the project, I have meetings with them before they join the program. But in one meeting, or, you know, even if I've spoken to them and they've told me about the project, that's different when the actual real thing starts. We don't really know how they are going to react, how much they really know. So it's a surprise for all of us. But in a way, it's good because it's real, right? We are not telling anyone, oh, you know, you're gonna come and do this course and everything's gonna be smooth and the client is gonna be perfect and you're gonna know straight away what to do. It is like they are really out of their comfort zone in so many ways. I think it's a shock at the beginning, like they don't know about, they've never been involved in a real project, like proper planning and stages and risks. They've never worked with a real client that is demanding things and asking for things and in a team that they don't know. So it's a bit of a cultural shock, but the more the project progress, the more used they get to everything. And at the end, you know, we get really, really good feedback from, it's like their confidence, their feelings of achievement is really high at the end of the program. Yeah.
Do you also like do it in a bit of a like hackathon style, that at the end of the project, like the project presentations or something like that, or?
Yeah, definitely. So we have 8 weeks initiation definition of the project, planning, creating the project initiation document. Then there are 8 weeks of delivering the project. That's where the researchers basically follow the plan and do the research. Always there are a lot of checking points. I am at that point like tracking the project, so they need to produce weekly dashboards informing about how the project is going. There are quite a few project report meetings, coaching sessions, so we don't leave them just to do it. We are in a project. You need to report back all the time. It's not like you just go on your own. And so there is a lot of tracking. And then during the reporting, they produced, at the end, they produce a research report and a business report, and they have to present this to the client at the end. They also get training on business presentation, and they also present at the beginning the project initiation document. So this is also a skill that they get about presenting, you know, something that we say to them is that, yes, it is important to talk about methodology when you write your research report, because they are research consultants, that's their expertise, they are researchers, and that's what makes them stand out. Maybe if there is another type of consultant, the rigorous methodology, but when it comes to presenting to the client, they are not that interested in the methodology. They are interested on the product. This is why we did it, and this is the evidence as to why we did it. So this is something that they need to learn in the presentations, and because they present to us before they present to the client. So many times we had to tell researchers, they come with a presentation that spends like, I don't know how many slides on methodology, and we're like, get rid of that. Because the client, you've already given that to the client in a report. When you present, you go to the point. Products, this is the evidence, and this is why. Right. So yeah, so that happens, and at the end they evaluate the project. So we do lessons learned with the client, because we think that in project management in the industry, when people do projects, they tend to rush into doing. They don't want to plan it, but then they don't want to evaluate it, even in industry, because when you produce a product, then it's like, okay, let's go to the next project. People don't want to usually spend time on evaluation. So we make sure that we have an evaluation stage for them to learn that skills of lessons learned and to be able to say on their CVs that they've managed an end-to-end program, a project from commission to evaluation. That's why it's there.
Actually, I recently recorded an episode with Mark Bayer, who is an expert in communication, and he teaches researchers how to get better outreach for their projects and how to communicate with broad audience. So it's exactly what he said, that researchers often start from the nitty-gritty details instead of just starting with the outcome, not output, but outcome of the project. So meaning what is the general, like what are the consequences, what did we achieve and why we, yeah, so for instance,
What are the recommendations?
yeah,
And then these are
exactly.
the recommendations, this is the evidence, and this is the approach, and this is the evidence. And yeah, exactly.
I think it's quite common problem, and I think pitching in general is difficult to learn for everyone. It's just as Mark also mentioned, it's a matter of training. You have to practice and practice and practice, and then at some point you'll get skillful. It's also requires empathy, because you have to kind of put yourself in another person's shoes who doesn't have the same background, and they have different objectives. They really want to, you know, they come there for certain, like with certain mindset and certain goal, and they just want this, you know, out they want to reach a particular target. So the first question is, did did the project meet the expectations? Did we get what we expected? And that's it. So to get their attention, you have to tell them pretty much in the first sentence if the project
Exactly,
is
yeah.
going to be successful or not. So yes. All right, great. So what else can we tell, like to all the people who might be potentially interested in the project? So you do these admissions twice a year, that's what you mentioned, right?
Yes, so the next one, we're planning the next program to start in January 2022, and the waiting list is already open. And we also do information sessions twice a week, and so anyone can come, researchers or researcher developers. And what I do during this session is I talk people through the program in detail, because online we have a summary and key dates and sessions, but the full program, I explain it in detail during the formation sessions. They can ask questions, all sorts of questions that no matter how much information you put online, you can never answer all the questions that people may have. So, and it's an opportunity to meet me, because sometimes, there is also that, do you really want to work with me for 6 months? Do you really want to hear my voice, to see my face? Because we use a Slack, so we are engaging all the time and we're messaging. So it's the opportunity, right, before you embark into something, to meet the person that you're going to be working with. And also, I forgot to say that even though the program is 6 months long, the time commitment is 5 to 7 hours a week. So it's not a full-time placement. And in the 24 weeks, we only have 10 like key dates, like what it means, like 10 workshops or sessions that we have a set time. The rest of engagement, the rest of meetings, coaching, and everything else that happens is flexible. We have a window of time that researchers can choose with the team. And we do this because the idea behind this placement is that researchers don't need to stop their PhD to do it. Because when you think of placements or internships, usually they require you to stop your PhD for 2 months or 3 months. And sometimes supervisors don't want you to do that, because they fear that you may lose track of your PhD or motivation or whatever. And sometimes researchers don't want to do it for the same reason. So the way we've done this is done in a way to make sure that you can, if you're a PhD, you can do your research. If you're a postdoc, you can still work and do this alongside your job. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, makes perfect sense. And do you have some admission criteria, or is it, you pay, you're placed?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're a PhD researcher, that's it. PhD researcher and postdocs, you are good for us.
Okay.
We think that you've made it.
Okay. And I still have one question that I didn't ask you before, but that just bugs me. So what do you do, like, in terms of like project management when there is like a disagreement in the project? Let's say something goes wrong, right? So there is like a team of people who never worked together before, and some of them, for instance, become too busy to deliver, or for instance, there is a discrepancy in opinions on a team in which direction to push the project. So is there any like project leader, or is there like any workflow that you have for solving such situations to make sure that the project is finished in time, or
Yeah.
like more of
So yeah, I mean, there are different like scenarios. I mean, to be honest, these programs are very risky because we are working with different projects. Each project is a risk from the client. I mean, we've never had the situation where the client, I don't know, went bust and said, I can't do this anymore. That hasn't happened, but it could happen. Or the client got so busy, but so far so good with the clients. With the teams, we've never had a situation where a team didn't deliver. They have all delivered so far, but yes, we have had issues with disengagement at some point, but we have quite a few measures in place to minimize this risk. So for example, we use a Slack. Yeah, Slack is our office, virtual office, and each group, each project team has their own channel. Yeah, the code switch team is part of each of the channel, so I know what's happening in all channels. I follow all conversations. I'm part of the teams. So if I see that somebody is not engaging, that somebody hasn't spoken in a week, it's down to me to go to the person and say, hi, are you okay? So that burden doesn't fall on the team. Or we also have a time tracker. Every week, each person needs to write down how many hours they've done on the project, because that's what you do in consultancy, because also we need to know. And that's another way I have to see, okay, so it seems that this person is doing too much work, and I have a chat with the team, maybe we need to rebalance things. And then what else do we have? We have a third thing, I can't remember what it is, but anyway, we have a few methods to try to work with this. But in terms of disagreements, we haven't had a case where they massively disagree. Part of our ethos, I think, is that when they join the program, we say, you are now one, right? You are a team. And if you know that you're going to be busy in the next 2 weeks because you have to send a chapter or whatever, you need to let us know, but you need to, most importantly, your team know. So from the very beginning, we make it really clear to them, like, you are a team and this is a team effort. So yeah, I mean, we have coaching sessions with the research consultant where she talks to them, and if we have had situations like that, I remember now we had one, we send them to the research consultant and say, okay, go and talk to Kat and resolve the issue with her. So yeah, we had a few ways of dealing with these situations, but we also had situations where researchers couldn't continue the program, and the team at some point lost a person, so we had to get together with the business, with the team, with the project manager, with me, and try to rescope the program, the project. but that happens in all projects. I mean, it's rarely the case that you plan the project and then you deliver. Sometimes life gets in the way, but yeah, we had situations like that, but we just manage everything inside it.
Yeah, that's also why I asked, because in 6 months many things can happen, right?
Many things can happen, I know.
Like in principle, someone might find a new job and just...
That's what happened. Somebody found a new job. Actually, in one team, we had 5 and 2 found a new job and they were very sorry. But the whole team, was very understanding the business. So they wanted to produce 5 case studies. We shorted that to 3. So, and that was a good learning for them to see like this happens in real life and you need to be able to adapt. You cannot just like freak out and say, oh my God, we can't deliver this anymore. So in a way, it's good practice. Anything that happens that is unexpected and difficult, in a way, is really good practice, because in that way, they get really good example for interview. When you go to interviews, that's how you compete with people, with really good examples of things that happen. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, indeed. Like on these corporate interviews, you will be definitely asked, how, to give an example of a difficult situation, and then you have to use the STAR method to explain how you solved it, and so that's a good case indeed. So for everyone out there who is watching this episode, if you guys are interested, then you can find Hellen on LinkedIn, and also we'll put a link to Code Switch here below the episode, so please check it out. Okay, so Hellen, like just lastly, since we already talked for some time, I have to start wrapping up this episode, but I still would like to ask you for some general career advice that you might share with PhD candidates and graduates who are watching us.
General, the most important one, I would say, always have a plan B. And a plan B usually is find work experience or activities that will boost your PhD. The PhD is the starting point only. I mean, you need more, because in the job market, where you go into academia, and you know that if you apply for a job in academia, they want publications, they want teaching, they want admin experience, and the PhD. The same is in the industry. The PhD is the beginning, but if you are competing with other people, you may have, I don't know, communication skills based on teaching or conferences, but if you're competing with people who come from the industry, that they've done that and that. So try to always boost your CV and get work experience if you can't, or do activities to boost your CV.
If I could add to this, I was actually recently also shooting the episode with Kejlan Kovac, and he made a very good point that what you should be collecting in your career is projects, not positions. That's also why it's so important to go for projects like this, because at the end of the day, your future employers want to know what you achieved. They don't want to know. And when successful managers talk about their careers, like Marissa Mayer, when she was admitted to Yahoo to become their CEO, she was not admitted because she was the head of this or that department at Google. She was admitted because she was involved in Google Doodle, she was involved in Google AdSense, so she took part in a few pivotal projects that put Google in a position it is now, and she was there at the time of a launch. She contributed to the success. So it was projects and not positions that gave her the position of a CEO of Yahoo. And it's the same with every job. So your future, the hiring manager wants to know what projects you successfully delivered before. So even like a part-time experience like this, when you can say, well, we work with this particular company, we deliver this and that, like this was the objective, this is what I did in this project, and this was the outcome. That's already a big difference from just a PhD experience, when, okay, you had a position of a PhD, but that was it. So so this is crucial, to have to have some collection of projects in your CV or resume that you can talk about.
Definitely.
Okay, great. And I agree with you. Like, you have to have some plan B.
Always.
Always. Yeah, I also didn't have one, and I regret that now. But yeah, well, now I know.
But now you have an amazing business, so you know.
Well, I mean, now I kind of, it's not that I have plan B, it's more that I chose a business model where I have a lot of room. So I can, you know, go in different directions between like books, aptitude tests, working with people like one-on-one, teaching and recording courses, and working maybe with companies on some programs for companies, and maybe recruitment in the future. So there are so many different ways. So it's more like balancing and dancing. Like it's more like, you know, developing a company in a way that you can just dance against the crowd, you know, whatever they want, you know, you give them, you know, it's just.
On that point, we are about to launch a new program.
Yeah.
It's called Short Switch. So it's a 4-week. I mean, it's a 4-week program, but that's done in house. It's not for researchers to sign up. It's for universities to hire us, really, universities or DTPs, and it's like a not short version, it brings the ethos and objective of Code Switch. So this is our new product, and like you say, I sense that the market wanted that too. So we've created something, and we are delivering our first presentation this summer, and we may be delivering another one in October. So yeah, let's see what happens. That's what you need to do. Like, I think in business, when you talk about plan Bs, it's about having different products, because you cannot put all your eggs in one basket in life in general, and the same in business. You cannot just have, you should have a main product, but you cannot only have that product, because anything can happen, right? So
Well, it's, you have to, again, it's more of a dancing. Like, people want like make a step in some direction, you make step to like to match them. It's like about listening also, like, you know, just whatever remarks they have, you are like, okay, I should do more of this or less of that, and just a gradual improvement, I think. And that's great that you have interest from universities as well. I think it's good direction to go. And I think working with everyone, you also become better, because I mean, how can like in my case, for instance, how can I be skilled in advising researchers if I don't work with like businesses as well and listen what they want? And how
of
can I
course.
be good at the other way around? How can I be good at advising, for instance, businesses how to better match employees with positions, or how to better create teams, if I don't talk to employees and what they want and their needs in life, and how they think of their employers? Like I should, the more like legs you stand on, the more groups of different, like groups of interest that you have contact with, the better you become to help each one of them, I think.
That's completely right. Yeah.
So I hope I wish you great success with this new initiative. So
Thanks,
let's,
Natalia.
if you have information on your website, let's just also link it below. Okay, so great. So thank you so much, Helen, for all this information. I wish you all the best with the program, and let's hope that yeah, it will reach a broader audience this way. I think it's a great initiative. And okay, thank you so much, guys, for getting to the end of this episode. If you would like to get more of this type of content, then please subscribe. And we are waiting for your comments and questions. Please post them below. And you can also directly contact Helen if you have direct questions for her. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.